Carla. Well, Patricia already got us started with her wins today. Who else would like to share? John, wonderful. Then David.
Good morning. Hey, I just, this is my last call today. So I wanted to say thank you to Stephanie and to Michael for these calls and for all the guidance and coaching. And also to Sarah and Michael, who have been my coaches through this whole thing. Now the thing is just to keep the momentum and keep it going. So I just wanted to say hey and say thank you and glad to have been here.
We're sad. It won't be the same without you, John.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you set such a good example for everyone. You always ask lots of questions, you show up, you help each other. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
David, did you have your hand up for a win?
Yes, I did. I don't want to sound like a
Right.
broken record, but I know I've mentioned in the past about the AIR conversations. I continue to have these AIR conversations. Later today, I'll be meeting with Martha Gleason, who was a part of this group, who recently had completed her time. I'll be also meeting next week with Tina, is a part of this group now. And I'm going out at least once a week, finding a speaking opportunity at, even if it's Toastmasters, and also going to business events, using those AIR conversations. They're getting a lot easier. I'm offering a free coaching session as part of that to get feedback, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. So that has been a big takeaway from me from this coaching so far. I know I'll get much more, but that's been one of the biggest.
Way to go, David.
Awesome. Well, it's
can
a
tell
skill
you're
you're going
fired
to
up.
need forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, you have something you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure. I just came out of a really good AIR conversation with Allison, part of SPF. Gave me a lot of good clarity on the real estate market and how best to navigate through that. So I just got off the phone with her right before this, which was great. And then yesterday, I had no plans on attending this women's real estate conference event, but it showed up on one of my news feeds. So I figured, hey, let me just, go attend and see what it's all about and strike up some AIR conversations. I think I posted something on Facebook into the group. So thank you both, you and Michael, for giving me feedback on that. I was able to meet the people on the board, which was great. And I followed up via email last night to have them, get their thoughts on my How to Work with Jerks program. Still waiting on a response, but I was able to make that initial contact. And like I said, I had no plans on attending. So, it was a spur of the moment thing. So I was able to, I think, get some momentum off of that.
Big time. Way to go. Way to be adaptable.
Action, action, action. Way to go.
And I just want to say, maybe we'll talk about this more after if we need to, but if you guys hadn't seen Eric's post, it was, hey, what do you think of doing the marketing tell me the exact title, Stephanie or Eric, the board.
How to work.
What do you think of doing
Board
that
strategy
live?
reverse.
Say it again.
I think it's the reverse prospecting in reverse.
Yeah, okay, there you go. What do you think of doing that face-to-face at a networking event? I thought, and my first comment was, way to go, Eric. That's way to be adaptable. Absolutely, that was cool.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to share? Deborah, then Rachel, then Allison. Nice.
So I've been practicing the AIR thing and I've got several calls set up and I'm using it as a part of my strategy. I'm leading an executive roundtable next week in Naples. And so as part of that, there's a party at somebody's hoity-toity home. And so I hate mingling, but I'm going to use the AIR conversation approach as my method for interacting with folks because it is definitely my target market. So that's where I am with AIR and kind of excited about it.
Good luck mingling in the hoity-toity home.
It's like a super hoity-toity place.
Means they have money to hire you. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And love insights on the face-to-face air conversations.
Well, I also love that you just said you were excited about it. Like you went from I hate mingling to I'm excited about it.
Well, yeah, because
So
now I have a strategy and I don't have to like try to figure out what to say in the moment. So that'll just make it easier.
awesome. Okay, I forget who I said was next. Was it Rachel or Allison? I
Rachel,
forget.
and then here, Allison.
Allison, I think. Yeah. All right, Rachel.
Can you guys hear me okay? We have really
Yes.
industrial heat going on in the background, so awesome. I'm very excited to be really digging in and getting moving. I had a little bit of a delayed start. So I've been getting moving with air conversations and was really excited. I got invited into the corporation that my husband works at to do a lunch and learn the week that I signed up for Speaker Profit Formula. And I decided to do it no charge because it's my husband's work home and I need the experience of, yes, I'm a professional speaker to really build the confidence. And I have had the opportunity to plant some air conversations with many of his colleagues, and I'm doing the lunch and learn on the 18th, and I'm being introduced into their continuous improvement department. There's a whole department dedicated to what I do. So it's exciting to see when you start looking for the resources that you already have around you, what's opening up. And as I'm becoming brave and letting our membership know that I'm getting ready to launch a public speaking career, becoming a professional speaker, I'm having to navigate my language carefully to make sure that I'm not getting stuck in the low fee, no fee nonsense. But I am surprised and grateful for the feedback of you're doing exactly what you should be. Let us network you. Who do you need to know? What do you want to speak about? So just getting the ball moving, but I'm excited to see it moving. So here we go.
Nice.
Awesome. Action, action, action. Again, great work, Rachel. Allison, what would you like to share?
Well, even just today alone, I think I had 3 conversations back to back with people from the program, which is really great. Looking for perhaps that before, middle, after connections, or working together. And Martha, who was already mentioned, that does the voice work, and since I do the body language piece, we're looking to offer ourselves up to conferences that hold pitch contests as a, before you go off and try to get this $100,000 or $1 million prize from this pitch contest, as even a pre-offering to the conference, even if the conference people pay for it, but that we're going in and we're preparing them for the pitch from the voice and the body side of things. And we may look for a pitch deck company then to kind of be a threesome, or then we can offer ourselves up to these conferences as a done for you panel, so they don't have to do any curating of it, they could just do it.
Very good. Very clever.
So that was fun, and just meeting the different people in the group and always thinking of brainstorming how might we, or just so that I know more what other people are speaking about, so that if there is I can't do this gig, but wow, it sounds like this person might be good for you, sorts of referrals. So that was fun. And then I posted in the Facebook group from Tuesday's call on the, the Bellevue thing. And it turns out they want somebody to be kind of the headliner, or the bait, so to speak, for their dog and pony show that they're taking to Washington, D.C. in September, and they had seen me talk. So I just threw out, the whole, well, it looks like, based on everything we've said, that we're talking in the $7,000 range. Let me put together some options for you. And there was no objection. The first time probably ever any objections. So I don't know whether I'll get it. I may get it later, but it was definitely a win to gulp and say the words, say the price. Because it's literally a 1-hour talk, so that's hard for me to give myself that much value. So that was definitely a win to see. I'll keep you posted if how that goes.
What would you usually have pitched that as? What price?
Oh, the last time I traveled, and I think I did a 3-hour training, and I only charged $3,000. So this, 7 for an hour is is a big step for me, for sure. I mean, I think around like locally, you know, I would probably come in at, you know, 1,500 or, you know, yeah, it's been bad. So I have to
Nice.
raising.
Deborah, what, you've had your hand up? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you might want to give Allison some props, I'm assuming.
I understand that struggle. And I wonder if there's just a slight mindset shift for you to consider. That I had to do the same. And then thankfully I did that years ago, but they are not paying for an hour of your time. They're paying for decades of experience and insight. That has tremendous exponential value. And I don't know if that helps you at all, but if you can start to use a different frame for it.
Oh, definitely. I've had to work a lot
yeah, because
on that. Yeah, because I also come from nonprofit world. You know, I mean, I come where my whole life is begging people to give me stuff for free.
Well, I'm using that with nonprofits. So yesterday I was asked to facilitate 2 roundtables in Chicago. Like, hey, you're going to be here anyway. And I told them, you know what? I wasn't planning on working all afternoon, and that's a high energy event. That's more than just the 2 hours that you want me to facilitate. It's all the prep. It's making sure that I'm prepared before I'm on stage, calls with the panelists to make sure we understand each other so that we can deliver the highest value, engaging content for your members. So what's your budget? And let's talk about that. So, you know, it's just changing the frame. Anyway, I don't know if that helps at all.
Thanks
I
for
need to
saying
hear it
that,
over
Deborah.
and over and over.
Yeah. I just curious, hands up, who finds an hour talk actually harder than a longer talk? 'Cause I find condensing it, you know, really focusing that value. So yeah, anyways,
And I was just going to add to what Deborah said to Allison is something I had mentioned in a call several weeks ago. I have a friend who's a sculptor, and he created this piece, and one of his students says, how long did that take you to make? Because it was perfect. And he said, it took me 2 months and 40 years. You know, it took him that 40 years to get that good, to be able to do it in 2 months. So that's the same with all of us here.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into our questions today, welcome to TJ for being here on your first call. Glad to have you here on video, looking great. And oh, go ahead if you were
I was going to say thanks for having me. Just looking forward to learning from everybody else.
We are excited to have you here. And I also just wanted to give a little shout out to Morgan, because you guys don't know this, but well, you might know this, but Morgan does a lot during these calls. I think you are all sending her messages about questions coming up. She's managing the queue. She's telling me that I made Rachel the host instead of her. She is absorbing everything you say. She is such an awesome wing woman. And so in case you guys ever want to give Morgan a little love, she's there, quiet as ever, but wonderful.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That's so sweet.
Morgan, are you in a place to put your camera on and say hi?
Yeah, I don't look so great right now, but
you always look great. There's Morgan. Yay!
Sorry. Nice to see everyone. Sorry, I'm usually off camera because I'm like doing stuff behind the scenes, and I don't look just like a weirdo if you guys saw me. So.
She usually has a cat running around her keyboard.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was nice, Stephanie. Very nice.
Well, Morgan's wonderful, and sometimes we don't celebrate her enough. So, all right, Michael, I'll let you dive into the very extensive question queue today.
Yeah, boy, we have like 50 questions. No, just 2. Today's going to be interesting. So Gary says, I'm feeble when it comes to outreach, focusing more on the modules and marketing materials, video, and my talk. But when I've done outreach, it's always positive, encouraging, and effective. Then I slip away from it because I'm juggling the lessons, marketing materials, and talk. Advice on pushing everything else aside to focus on air conversations without feeling I'm neglecting everything else. Yeah, so tell us, just share a little bit more, Gary. Why do you think you're not focused on those, and what do you?
Well, it's not uncomfortable. It's just sort of like it mentally. I put it in a structure, And every time I'm on here, I always talk about, you know, I'm a freelance writer, so I'm always juggling a lot of things. And I sort of do it when I feel I'm inclined to do something. And when I've got this list of like the one sheet, the talk, the video or whatever else, it's like, okay, I've got this on my to-do list, and then I'll get to this other stuff when I get around to it. And so I tend to push that over to the side. But again, when I do it, like the other day, I haven't had the conversation yet, but I reached out to a guy who was head of the Motorcycle Industry Council, who says, hey man, I'm really looking forward to talking to you. You know, we've got a lot to discuss. That's great. You know, and that's encouraging because I know it's going to lead to something because he's hired me to talk before. So that's good. But then it's like, but I've got to finish this stuff because this stuff is just hanging out there. And, you know, until I finish this, I can't get to that. And Stephanie's heard this before because it's like this nagging, it's not a character flaw. It's just the way I've worked over the years. It's like, I'll be working at 1 a.m. I'll be working at 9 a.m. I'm always focused on something, but it's always a swirl. And I can't seem to escape this gravitational pull just to focus on the air conversations and the outreach.
So how about, so just to throw this out there, why change? Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean,
well, because I feel like I'm less of a man when I'm, no, it's funny when I come to these conversations and it's like Eric is like knocking it out of the park and Allison, you know, and it's like, hey, I had this air conversation and I booked, you know, I booked a gig for this and I did this, and it's like, oh man, I should be doing this. But it's just like my work habit, which is pretty much ingrained over these decades of doing it, hasn't freed me to go and do the sales part of the stuff. I'm doing the structural part of it, but I'm not doing the sales part. So it's like show business without the business.
okay, so just real quick, just take a couple more minutes with me. So I asked, why not just keep doing what you're doing? And you mentioned, you know, other people come to the calls and say they had these great. Is that the only reason? I mean,
well, it's because I know, you know, I've been in this class for a while now, and it's like, I know I should be doing this. And if I follow, because I've talked to other people who have taken it, they said, you know, trust the system and it will work. And I'm trusting my habits more than trusting the system, if that makes sense.
okay.
So
Do you think you could you declare for us right now potentially that you'll spend an hour? Could you declare to spend an hour a day either setting up or either pursuing to setting up or conducting air conversations?
oh yeah, absolutely, an hour a day. Yeah, but see, I tend to look at it like at a block of, hey, once I start, I better set aside 4 hours or 6 hours or a full day for this exclusively, as opposed to, you know, I'll drop it in when I can, because once I get onto other stuff, you know, it's like monkey mind, and it just sort of, you know, goes all over the place. I'll work on something for 15 minutes and then back to something else for 20 minutes. And then the other stuff that I do, you know, concert productions and books and all this other junk.
So you will spend an hour a day or no?
Yeah, I certainly can, and I will.
Okay.
You know, hey, problem solved. But
Well, yeah, for now, do us a favor. Let's see, we've got Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days. So if you would, just for now, would you accept sending Stephanie and I an email each day for the next 7 work days? Just a little, it could be 2 sentences, just summarizing the work you did in your air conversation for that day.
I think that would be good. It would give me a sense of accountability, you know, to do it and have a target and have an objective to accomplish.
Yeah, so that might be just something for now, and then at the end we'll talk to you. I think what you'll find is you'll get those experiences that are positive that you talked about, which, you know, sometimes it just takes a little momentum.
Yeah. I think you're right. Momentum definitely helps, you know, when you get started on this stuff. And if anybody else wants to pitch in and call clients on my behalf, you know, that door's always. No, but yeah, that's great, Michael. It's just, again, it's just getting pushed out the door to you know, to focus on this, even though, and I would like to hear from other folks as well. You know, do you feel like you're overwhelmed with stuff beyond speaking, or is it just me?
Yep, it's part of the deal.
Part of the deal. Okay.
And I want to. Is it everybody else? It sounds like, right? Like that's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I tend to overbook my schedule. You know, I think I don't like having downtime, so I fill it up to the point of you know, just being overwhelmed by stuff.
So do you actually have in your schedule? You mentioned you fill it up. Do you have air conversations in your schedule?
No, I have a schedule that's like up here, and it's like, hey, I know I need to get this done, and I know I need to get this done, and so I just start working on it based on, you know, it's sort of an intangible feeling. It's like, I know I've got to get this done, so this takes priority, and I'll have a list of stuff, you know, occasionally, but most of it's just sort of swirling around.
Yeah, I would, and we're going to talk more about money-making activity in this call, but I would challenge all of you to pick, I mean, building a website, working on your talk, creating your reasons to hire package. Those are all important things, and none of them are going to make you a nickel.
Yeah, you're right.
Nickel. Right. So if money is at all important to any of you, you got to do the work and the strategies to get booked. And so I would highly encourage you, whatever day timer you use, have 2 to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Right now, we just asked Gary for 1 hour because that's just one little strategy.
Yeah.
You should have, I mean, I just still use one of these suckers, but every day I have carved out money-making activities. And when you if it says 1 to 3 in your day timer, I'm on a bit of a rant here. When it's 1 o'clock, you don't say, nah, I feel like working on my website. You do money-making activities, unless you want to be broke for the rest of your life. And I'm not just speaking to Gary, to all of us. This is what kind of, you know, this is what successful people do, whether they feel like it or not. What do you guys think of that? I mean, you got it. Yeah.
So Michael, I'm glad you brought that home, because my thinking is just like, you just got to suck it up and do it. You either do it or you don't, and you're an adult and you can choose, all of you, you can all choose what you spend your time on. And I actually talked to David about this. We said, oh my gosh, David, like, what can we do about the course? Like, we find so many people are getting stuck in like the beginning phase of the course. And again, we're talking about money-making activity a little bit later, but like, how can we get people moving on to money-making activities like faster, better, sooner? And he said, it doesn't matter what we do to the course, because we can talk about fear. We can give you all the strategies in the world, but it's like this like gate that once you walk through and you start outreach and you start prospecting, all of your fears come tumbling down on you. All of your insecurities come tumbling down on you. And Gary, this may not be true for you. I'm saying this is what I talked to David about a while ago. But if you stay behind that gate, the gate of website, one sheet, prep, target market, whatever, if you stay behind that gate, you're safe. You're safe behind that gate. Even in the air conversations, you're still safe behind that gate. Once you go forward, it can feel very dangerous. Like you said, the monkey mind, and you've got to just do it. It's not actually dangerous. It's where we have to just say, we don't have to only do things in our life that are comfortable. The things that we want are hard. The things that we want can be outside of our bubble. And the more you do it and the more you stretch, stretches and stretches, but the rest, we have a long life ahead of us of uncomfortable things.
Yeah, in the AIR conversations I've had, they've been, I mean, just incredible. They're encouraging. Everybody's like wants to help, and it's just like I should be doing this every day.
Of course,
like going to the gym. I should be doing that every day. But you know, when I get stuck with writer's block, I found, hey, I say I'm going to write for just 15 minutes, and 15 minutes leads to 4 hours, because once I get started, you know, then it's there. And Eric, you had a comment I saw, I think.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, Gary, I know exactly what you're going through. I've only been in the program, this is my second week, and I just dedicated, I listened to what Michael said, and what Stephanie said, and just dedicated, you know, several days, like that second week, just on doing whatever I could for MMA activities. But then today, just coincidentally, I said, wait a second, I think I need to start working on my 7 reasons to hire me. So I spent like 2 hours doing that. And I felt guilty about it because I was like, I didn't reach out to anyone. I didn't follow up. I sent some emails in the evening and this morning, but I didn't dedicate nearly enough time as I wanted to. And to Michael and Stephanie, I think part of that reason why I did that is because when I start reaching out to people, I know they're going to start looking me up. They're going to, you know, start inquiring. And I want to make sure that I have my stuff ready. I have something prepared. I have something to show that I'm not just some random person just reaching out. So like for me, it's like I feel like I need to have my stuff together. So that's why I said.
Eric, you froze on us. You might want to shut off your video because you were kind of hard to hear you. So just turn off your video and reset your
Yeah, and I'm just going to end this question because we can go on forever. So I've seen a lot of hands go up. Can you just type to Gary in the chat? Because I think we could spend the whole hour on this question today.
Yeah,
I'm gonna quickly say more advice though is not better. When the, you know, this is classic Tony Robbins. Like Gary, you keep, oh, do you have a comment? Do you have a comment? When the pain of not making enough money or putting yourself out there exceeds the pain of, you know, doing the action, it'll switch for you. I mean, the point is it'll get to a point where it'll just tip, and so just need that pain until it actually happens.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate the time.
No magic. There's no magic pill.
I'm going to add something from Stephanie. If you take it from here and put it down as a non-negotiable, kind of like a doctor's appointment on a calendar, that this hour is spent for, because a doctor's appointment you can't negotiate, or something else, and you write it down where it's not non-negotiable. That's a step. That's a tip from Stephanie.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Patricia. Okay, Michele, there you are. Perfect. Okay, when it comes to testimonials, what's more effective, video or written? And also, what's the most effective or creative way to use the testimonials that we have? Do you have a system right now, Michele, for collecting testimonials? Is that part good for you?
Yeah, this just came out of our conversation on Tuesday when testimonials came up, and it was sort of towards the end of the call. And so I thought, well, let me just hold this question for today. But I just was wondering from your perspective and Michael's perspective and everybody else, I've got written testimonials, I've got video testimonials. Just, I'm wondering what's the most effective and creative way to use them. And I'm sure, I mean, I have a lot of my own ideas, but I wanted to hear from you what you see work best and how to target the way that I use them, I guess, is the real question.
Perfect. Well, some tips that I have for testimonials. I think doing both is fantastic. Having a variety, amazing. If you have someone who's a good speaker and you've got good sound and lighting or whatever it is, and you can do kind of like an interview style testimonial or something like that, amazing. And you can have a few of those on your website, share them on social media. LinkedIn has like a media section. You know, there's some good ways to transcribe those testimonials for those times where you need them written. a great thing to do, regardless, written or video, is case studies. We were talking about this, I think, with Karen on Tuesday. So it's easier to do kind of interview style case study, you know, before, after, what changed, that sort of thing. But case studies are awesome. And frankly, they're extremely valuable. So when you can put together a good case study that's more than just like a paragraph, you know, when you can put together a case study of what worked and what didn't and what the company learned and that sort of thing, it's really valuable to the people reading them, not just from a testimonial perspective, but from a an action taking perspective, and also really positions you as an expert when it's not just like a fluffy one-liner sort of thing. I would look for testimonials as much as possible that have numbers in them and data. So the more you can collect data from clients before and after, make fantastic testimonials. And especially if you're tabulating that data and you can say, you know, 80% of my clients get X amount of return, or this, when you can actually tabulate that. We're working on that right now with SPF. We're starting to put together some data like that. It's just something we haven't done before, but it's a really important and compelling thing that you can do for clients because they want to know what kind of results you've gotten, right?
Right. So how does that apply to like a keynote where you're just going in and it's a one-shot deal and then you're out? It's not over a series of weeks or longer time.
Well, still, you can have a lot of times participants can like rate, or they hear from the organizer will solicit feedback from participants, and they often have like on a scale of 1 to 10, 95% of participants say that they would love to hear Michele speak again.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
kind of thing. So there's often feedback like that. Or feedback on Michele did an interactive presentation that kept everyone on their toes. Michele said things we've never heard before. Like, these are actually not even that great, but you can probably get some really good feedback about the keynote, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Another thing I would say is to vary the length of the testimonials, because you want to have some really punchy ones. Just because someone writes you a huge paragraph does not mean you need to keep the whole paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
So keep it punchy for some of them, and other times longer ones are more appropriate. On your one sheet, for example, you're going to have shorter, punchier ones, and sometimes on pieces of your website, you may have longer ones.
Would you do that for videos too? Would you, like, I usually ask people just to do like 30 seconds because I just want something short and punchy, but then sometimes they just get going and they can't stop themselves and you end up with like 2.5 minutes. So would you then just edit that down or not use? I mean, sometimes it's good stuff. It's just, they just keep hitting one point after another. So would you just choose like a 30-second chunk and get rid of the rest?
Yeah, and you can also put it in like a highlight reel too. So you could even edit a bunch of testimonials together for like a highlight reel. There's lots of different ways you can use it. It's kind of limited by your time, and your capacity, and your technical ability, and all of those things. If you have an assistant to help with that, and I've seen personally, I don't watch any videos. I hate watching videos. Other people will watch every video that's on your site, so I think having a variety is important. And if what they're saying in the video is what the person buying needs to hear, it might be something that you selectively send. Like, oh, hey, we just had this conversation and it sounded like you were struggling with this particular, sounds like you're concerned about this particular thing. Can I send you a video of a client I have who I worked with on this exact thing or had this exact concern? It's another, I'm just going to spew one more idea on you.
It's good. It's good. Keep going.
You know how we have the one sheet and the why hire? You can also make a document that's just testimonials, right? You can say, hey, you're about to book with me. How about I send you some other client, what other clients have had to say about my work together. And you can have that in a nice document or on a web page that is easy for them to see and use.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. What one of those stands out that you might want to do right away?
Well, I'm doing most of those already. So I think, but what I don't have is just like a one document that would go with the one sheet that would go with the reasons to hire, that beautifully designed page that just has all the excerpts on it. I don't have that. I have a testimonial reel. I have a bunch of the testimonials on my website. I have a bunch of them transcribed in different places, but I don't have that. So that's the first thing I think I'll implement. So thank you.
Cool. Fantastic. Good question.
Super cool. Good stuff.
The next question is from Deborah, and Steph, I'm going to ask for your help on this, or actually ask you to answer it.
Yeah, I will, because so Deborah, where are you? Oh, there you are. So I actually asked David about this. So because I think you asked about it before, and let me just read your question. Various outreach sales scenarios. Okay, so when I asked David about this, I was kind of saying, okay, we can put together this stuff, and he very adamantly does not want the scripts and things put in a place, because he very much wanted to stress that they are samples and ideas that you then make your own. And he's worried that when we've seen this happen when we had them before as easily downloadable, people would basically just like send them out, basically exactly as is. And so it was strategic on his part to not have them all in one place. That's probably not the answer you want to hear, but that is the answer that I got from him. You're just on mute, Deborah.
Yeah, not the answer I wanted. I'm moving really fast, and I understand the concept of frameworks and thinking for myself, but I'll just keep aggregating for myself. Thanks for checking, though.
You're welcome. I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you about that, because I do remember you asking that, so I appreciate you asking it again.
Yeah, you bet.
Now, you also had a question at the beginning, which I thought was what this question was going to be, about AIR conversations in person.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to talk about that now? Because I thought that was a good question.
Yeah, any...
Michael, I'll let you answer this if you want, but
yeah. Recommendations for using AIR conversations in person. Yeah.
Deborah, suddenly it's hard to hear you, but it's basically, what is your question? How to, or should we, or could conversations in person?
Yeah, I'm having internet problems today. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Yeah, just AIR, about using AIR in person, what to keep in mind.
I don't think anything different.
Okay.
You know, and you guys could do, but so you could do them on the phone, you could do them on Zoom, you know, whatever's easiest, depending on where the people you're asking for AIR. By the way, poor TJ. TJ, you're probably wondering what the heck AIR is, because you're brand new, but an AIR conversation is reaching out to folks to ask for advice, insights, and recommendations. And it's a great way to learn about the needs and wants of your target market, to gather research so you can make your talks better. And another benefit to them is they sometimes lead to business, because the person you're speaking to says, wow, I love what you're doing. I love what you're asking. Can I hear more about what you do? So just wanted to have you be able to engage. So Deborah, yeah, you can sure do that in person. And the cool thing about these AIR conversations is once you do 3 or 4 of them, you guys will all realize, those of you that have, I'm sure you can validate, they're very similar to each other. You might be learning different things, but it's basically just asking a few robust questions and then digging further and further. And what you'll find is you could do them impromptu too. Let's say you're at a networking event. You might say, hey, before the event starts, do you have, I'm really enjoying our conversation. Do you have 5 minutes? Let's grab a coffee and go sit in the corner. I'd love to learn a little bit more from you. there's an example where it's not only face-to-face, but it's kind of impromptu and it's non-threatening. And, you know, you get out your notepad and you just ask questions and show your interest and learn from them. And people really love to help and they love to be seen as kind of an expert. So you'll find that people are very forthcoming. That helpful, Deborah? I heard a parable once. I'm not going to tell it perfectly, but the parable was such that two folks were on a 5-hour flight, let's say flying from LA to Massachusetts, and they talked during the entire flight. And when they got off the flight, the pilot, let's just say, asked one of them, what did you guys talk about? How did you enjoy your conversation? And the one gentleman said, oh, she was absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed talking to her. She was so awesome. I learned so much and it was just wonderful. And we're going to do business together in the future. And the pilot said, well, what is it about her? What did you learn from her? And he said, you know, come to think about it, I don't really know. She just asked me a bunch of really great questions and I did most of the talking. And I've kind of never forgotten that the person, the woman, made him feel important and asked questions and showed curiosity and really cared. And he left feeling that she was incredible and wonderful just because she showed interest. And that's just something I've always remembered. And that's kind of what it's all about: networking, air conversations, et cetera, et cetera. Carla, and then David.
Yeah, I was at a networking event this morning, so I got some of my money-making activities of following up with people that I had reached out to, and they were just busy. And part of the benefit of that, one of the conversations was I had talked to someone last year, and they didn't move forward with an opportunity, and I saw her, and I quickly asked to say, hey, how are you doing? And she said to me, she says, I see all the stuff you're writing, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing she said to me was, I asked her, I said, well, would it make sense for us to connect and see where you all are to see if there's an opportunity to move forward with what your needs are? And she said, yes. So she's on my money-making call list later today.
Way to go, Carla. Good for you.
So I'm combining a lot of what you just described. It's that in-person with the phone conversation.
Very good. That's awesome. David, you had a question or comment?
Comment. What you described is exactly what I've been living my entire life. I hate small talk, and so what my defense mechanism has always been in the past is to ask lots of questions. Many times, my wife has heard through the grapevine, "Man, we love David. He's such a great guy." They never have, people don't ask me questions. I ask 1,000 questions and I leave many times. Wow, we love that guy. So.
Yep. And what'll sometimes happen, David, as you know, is the one question they might ask after being asked questions, thoughtful questions, is, well, like, why are you asking? Or share a little bit about you. And then you just give them a little bit, like one sentence, and then they'll bring it back to them and say something like, we need to talk more, or I need to hire you, or I need what you have, et cetera, et cetera. Good job. Thanks,
well, this a little bit is kind of related to Karen's question. Air conversations, can you send a MailChimp survey or something first, and then follow up with a phone call? And so, Karen, we've had a lot of people try and do air conversations over like email, essentially, or through I sent my whole list this survey or whatever it is, right? And then we find that that a lot of, they just don't get responses and they don't get depth. And so if you did this, which I probably still wouldn't do, but if you did, you definitely want the follow-up phone call, because that's where the depth and the richness comes from. A lot of times the air conversations are positioned as kind of like a favor, like, hey, could you do me a favor and like poke some holes in this? And it turns it kind of weird when you send them like you know, a survey or like a booking link or something like that, because we're trying to keep it really friendly. And so, I mean, you could experiment with it, but generally that's not the intention and like the feeling behind it. If you're trying to collect data, I would collect data versus like versus this. I'm not sure if that resonates with you or not, but
totally. Yep, that's helpful.
Different.
Thank you. Just kind of looking at all the options and what you all have learned. No need to go out and reinvent. Just stay the course.
Yeah, just and you don't need to do 50 of these. You just need to do a couple. Make sure your messaging and everything. If you're doing rebranding, this is something that a lot of branding companies will do: is market research, interviews. When I worked with a branding company, that's what we did, and that sort of thing. So. Okay, so to wrap up for today's call, I want to make sure that we talk today about money-making activities, MMA. You will see, remember we talked about the activity tracker checklist thing. It's in module 1 that you guys will see there, the activity tracker, and that has a list of a lot of the possible money-making activities you guys can be doing. Show of hands, who's using this so far? 3, 4, okay. So by next week, I want 100% of you using this tracker, okay? So, okay, yeah, Deborah, you're using your own way. That's totally fine. Yep, module 1, John, it's in module 1. There's literally a lesson now. We've just added it last week. There's a lesson there, or 2 weeks ago, called SPF activity tracker, I think. And even if you are not quite in the money making activity phase, I want you to be in the habit of using it every single day, work day. And so what I want to do now is ask you, what money making activities are you doing and how many each day? So money making activities, for example, are air conversations. They are, sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Air conversations, the before, with, after marketing strategy, asking for interviews, submitting articles, asking for referrals. These are money-making activities. Not, I'm working on my website, not, I'm working on my Y-Hire or whatever. So, so I had a couple hands up of people who were using the tracker. John, you want to share your MMAs? You're old hat at this. You've been on a
So here's a couple of things. I've done the asking for interviews, and it really is a follow-up process. I've got one scheduled for next week, but I've sent out 30 or 40 requests. So it's, again, I think I'm in the 3rd generation of follow-ups. I am also included articles in my emails, you know, here's adding value to, hopefully you can use this, part of this or whatever. And I just signed up for BombBomb. So I'm going to be sending video emails, and hopefully that will connect. It's interesting though, it's not as easy as you would think. It's like I look and my head's tilted and something's wrong. So it'll take a little bit of practice, but definitely sending the next wave of things with video emails out. So my quest today is 5 video emails, and Michael and I talked, and it's going to be about 20 air conversations this month.
Yes, amazing. Okay, good example, John. So 5 video follow-ups coming up and 20 air conversations. Those are the kind of numbers we want to, like when you're sharing your MMAs, guys, I definitely want to hear numbers. David, there is a video in the portal explaining how to use the tracker. So hopefully that was a helpful video. If you still have questions, let me know. Anyone else can share what money-making activities you've been working on? Carla, yes. You're on mute, Carla.
Okay. I know last session we talked about just the niching thing. Well, I wound up having over 2 days conversations with 2 people in the data space that I'm looking to get in, and got a ton of information that is pushing me in. It's saying I'm moving in the right direction. And, you know, they're saying, they're giving me a sense of the structure of the industry, what the challenges are. You know, it's like, okay, we need to dig deeper into this. So I now need to go back and look at their LinkedIn profiles and find people that I can also talk to, that they can refer me to, so that I can continue having those conversations, because I need to figure out, what's a good place to start, internally.
Good, good. So you've got a hub, and now you're going to spread out. And now I want you going to your tracker and really trying to up your score every day, right? So, you may have a score of 2 for yesterday, let's say, and now we want to get that score up and up. There's follow-up counts on your tracker as scoring. We're trying to make this a little bit of a game, guys. We want to get you a nice high score every day. Awesome work, Carla. Deborah wrote some awesome stuff in the chat, working on 2 proposals, has lots of calls, asking for air, 5 non-negotiable. You've got it scheduled as a block. Awesome, 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 Deborah. This is, so good. You're just really, and you've got your schmoozing at the fancy place coming up. So nice work.
Yeah, the only thing is, there you are. I'm working across multiple screens. So I chose to prioritize the MMA over getting my one sheet and why hired just because my business just suddenly went kazow, and so that's what's happening. So I'm still trying to get through the to-dos on the first 3 modules. So anyway, I don't know if that helps anybody else, but I think prioritizing the money-making activities has been the biggest mind shift for me, rather than spinning my wheels trying to get a perfect document explaining who I am.
I love that, Deborah, because like Michael said before, they're not going to make you a penny, right? They're tools that help boost confidence sometimes for some people, but really good. I don't want to sound cheesy, but like it's a really good role model.
I don't know about that. I feel like I'm figuring it out as I go, but whatever David told me to do, I just do it.
He'll be very happy to hear that.
So I've been picking up the phone way more than has ever been comfortable for me, not because I'm afraid of the phone, but I am 100% geek, and digital is my life. And so I don't even think about calling people, and I've been doing it so much more than ever before and getting amazing results. So I had no idea that I paid this money just to be told pick up the phone and that's what would make me money.
You never know what the one little nugget's gonna be.
Yeah, like duh.
I love it. I love it. Anyone else want to share some MMAs they're working on? Gary, yes, and then Rachel.
A wise man once told me, devote 1 hour a day to air conversations. So that's where I'll be.
Nice.
I think it was 1 hour a day to MMA, correct?
Yeah, well, air, MMA, PB&J, BLTs. It's but it's good. It's good to be focused.
Wonderful. Yes, focus, Gary. I look forward to hearing you report back. Rachel?
I fell in love with the activity tracker because in the fitness world, we are ridiculous with encouraging everybody to check, because that's how you can gain traction on results. And when you start having the doubt and this isn't working and so on and so forth, you have a very clear resource on, well, have I been doing everything I need to do? So I was very excited to have the tracker, and that helped me with those feelings of overwhelm on where to start and what does this look like. And I know for me, it was sitting down and starting to make a list of who are 20 people that I already have in my circle that I can use the air conversations with. That's where I've started. And I'm in the very beginning phase. I just sent out my first ones yesterday. And I always equate this to Ariel from The Little Mermaid when she like points the pen, closes her eyes and goes. So I sent out my first batch of 6 yesterday and have my list of 20 that I'm beginning to work my way through. And a lot of them are in different fields. So the ones I sent yesterday were to the corporation my husband works for. I have some others for different organizations I've worked with in the past through my current jobs. So I'm kind of sending them out in batches because what I can provide value for and what their needs are all a little bit different. So that also kind of gives me that structure on who I'm working with. And Deborah, thank you. I saw in the chat box fist bumps to all of you guys. You're so inspirational. I've been so grateful to get going on the calls this week. So that's what it's looked like. And I was so thankful for the tracker. So thanks for including it.
Whew. You scored major brownie points with Stephanie there, telling her how much you love the tracker.
Is that your baby?
David and I worked on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Love the tracker.
Well, I love it.
Tracker.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Way to go, Rachel. And Rachel, when did you join the program?
Like last
So
week.
I joined the program 2 weeks ago, but was waiting for, I had a new hire that I was waiting for him to take his licensing exam because that was bringing me from coaching 17, 18 classes a week down to 3. So I would have the time to dedicate to all of this. So he just passed his exam and I am full steam ahead on becoming a part-time employee in my own business, which is weird and wonderful all at the same time. And I'm really excited to be focusing all my attention here with all of you wonderful people.
Good job. Way to take so much action so quickly.
Well, thank you. You guys make it easy to do.
Good. Valerie just had a quick question in the chat, and then we are going to end today. Just, do you recommend having AIR conversations with associations? Generally, like, I guess you could, but generally AIR conversations are, like there are just other strategies, I guess, that work well with associations. You can definitely have AIR conversations if you have a connection to someone in an association, but AIR conversations tend not to be cold. So if you don't know anyone in the association, there's probably other ways to reach out to them that are going to get you in the door faster and better. So that's what I would give you that advice, Valerie. Any follow-up questions to that, Valerie, before we go today?
Just that I was thinking to contacting like a director of the association and then asking them what are some of the challenges of their members. So that,
yeah,
because what I'm doing is I'm anticipating going into the tech, engineers, and IT for women. And that's not my background, but I teach presentation skills and speaking to them. So that's what I thought my target would be, because I thought they needed more of that and storytelling. But I wanted to find out more about their background and what they needed.
Definitely. And the board prospecting and reverse strategy is similar to that as well. So kind of in a combination of those, you'll find it helpful.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Allison, you have your hand up?
Oh, I was just going to share a different kind of MMA tactic that I did yesterday, and it's not done. This might help some people that have difficulty kind of picking up the phone, but kind of giving people another reason. And it sort of came from the Tuesday call when we were talking about the coronavirus and switching everything to like virtual calls and things. And I thought, this is going to be something that a lot of businesses are doing. So I created 2 videos because it ended up being long. I chopped it into 2 that I'm going to send out to specific people as one of those follow-up, like, what are you giving back to them things on kind of the how to do the videos, and then the body language part, of course, which ties into what I do. How do you want to show up in the call? And what can you do non-verbally in the call to come across as close to a real meeting as possible, so that it's that touch, but it's also giving something to them. And then I can use it on LinkedIn, and I can use it a whole bunch of other places, but kind of trying to capitalize on what people are worried about right now. And that's a way to serve my clients and maybe get that AIR conversation or get that thing because I reached out. So just trying to think outside the box a little, if that helps anybody.
Good work. Yeah. So if you had just randomly made a blog post and you're just like, tra-la-la, I'm just going to put this out there, or a video or whatever, that would not count as MMA. But because this is a strategic follow-up strategy, I think it's awesome. So Great work. All right, everyone, we're going to wrap up for today. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday. We're going to continually ask you about the MMA that you're doing. It's so important that you get past through that gate we kind of talked about, onto the other side, doing your MMA, and we're going to hold you to that. So if you have any questions, make sure to talk to your coach too, and Facebook group, and you have these calls. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.